Remember where we are? This is a big antique rosebush, most likely planted in the 1920s. It's still come back after I gave it the prune it desperately needed. Yeah, interesting to see how it all fires up. I bet you like the root system on this must be bloody enormous, and it'll probably fire up and just go bloody enormous. So I knew it had some little buds there, but seems they are firing up. Seems there's a couple others that are still got to come, but will be coming before too long. Alrighty, you probably can't see much. I see a little bit. The light's fading pretty quick. All the plaster's dry. I put those other little patches on and bogged those up actually yesterday after work. I've still got to go over these ones, and you get these little, it's not going to show it, just bits where you stop and start and where you go twice with a trowel, and there'll sort of be little bits on the edges where you get little raised up lumps and sometimes spatters and stuff like that, and I've got to scrape those off in this room, which is a room where I keep all my screws and nails and tools and crap, and I've already done it in the other room. Then I've got to go and sand all of that. I have somewhere, used to be in my bedroom, I'm pretty sure I've actually put it in a toolbox, and I'm pretty sure I know what toolbox, what's called a Bosch Prio, and this is, well, the first or second version of it, but basically it's a very, very early lithium-ion powered sander, cordless sander. There's ones that sort of take like your curved triangle pads, and not too sure if I got the right size. I've got a whole bunch that's like 40 grit, but I think I've got to use like 100, 120 grit to do plaster. So I'll have a look. I've got a whole ton of flipping sandpaper, all brand new that I've bought over the years and never really used. And yeah, I've got to go through that, and I've got a bunch of your rectangular ones as well, so if I can't find ones that fit the Prio, I've got one or two. I think one's dead and the other one's still going. Chinese El Crapo mains powered sanders, so I'll most likely start the generator and get those going. I don't really feel like sanding by hand. I've spent too many years doing that already. Anyway, after that I'll go and vacuum up the plaster. Now those of you who know a bit about plaster will know that you're not actually supposed to vacuum up plaster dust. Except I've got a vacuum cleaner that's either made in 1978 or 1979, I think it's 79. And it has a cloth bag, and I get it to do all the things that you shouldn't probably do with a vacuum cleaner. It's so old, the bearings have been whining for the last year and a half in it, but it's still going. Not that I use it a great deal, but like all the soot that comes out of the chimney and hits the ground around the wood stove, I vacuum all that up with it. I vacuum it up stuff which, after doing concreting, which I believe may have had a bit of cement dust in it, I don't really get terribly worried. I've vacuumed ash out of the wood heater with it and everything. So all the things you're not supposed to do with a vacuum cleaner, I generally do that. Plaster dust is something that you really should be doing with a shop vac. And there's actually, those of you who know it, is Festo, very, very expensive German brand. I mean, just, you can't believe how expensive it is until you see the fact that the tools are double and sometimes triple the price of Milwaukee and DeWalt and places like that, or manufacturers like that. But they have dedicated plaster vacuum cleaners that actually have a built-in sander on the end, and you sand and vacuum at the same flame and time. And the other one that has it, but they don't have the sander attachment on the end, they're just a straight vacuum cleaner, is Ramset. You guys know what Ramset nails are, where you got the EPT, explosive power tool, and you fire the Ramset nails through the framing into the concrete slab. The makers of Dynabolts, you know who Ramset is. They also make vacuum cleaners for plaster. Their one actually has a strange feature where your inside that holds your dust actually has something that whacks the side of it to vibrate to make the dust settle to the bottom. I used one of those with Chinese Boss plasterer. We used to actually cut cement sheet using that thing. Anyways, once I've sanded all that, which will probably be tomorrow morning sometime, then I'll get the little roller out and paint that. Bit of a trouble, I should have got one today while I was in there, but I didn't, is I don't have a bloody paint tray, which is a bit of a stupid thing to have forgotten. I had a disposable one that I've used so many times, and last time when I'd done all these, I think it was the gables, but when I'd done those boards around the back, or it might have been when I was doing the gables, I threw it out anyway. And long story short, I don't have a paint tray, but we might have to improvise with something. I seem to notice I have plenty of different plastic bowls and whatnot around. Not that that's really any good for a roller, but I'll work something out. And yeah, that'll be that. I probably put a bit of paper down on the floor as well, just to stop any spatters hitting the floor. I thought I was running short on newspaper, and I sort of had a bit of a minor car clean out the other day and realised I had 3 spare newspapers, so I'm not short of newspaper again. There's something else. I'm actually in the middle of doing washing, and generator ran out of fuel, and you're supposed to let the muffler cool before you refuel it. It's a pretty good idea, particularly for gasoline/petrol generators, not to go pouring it on a hot muffler. So I've been waiting for that to cool for a bit. Got the wood stove going. I'm cooking up this big menagerie of different stuff I got for very low prices. So anyway, yeah. So I've got to do the washing, but and hopefully tonight or probably tomorrow morning I'll get on with the sanding, and then hopefully tomorrow afternoon I can paint. But there's something else I want to show you guys. I might as well show you. I've got a couple of cypress pines that ain't going too well at all, and those of you see this one here. Now this is the one, and I mean initially they used to look like just one giant one. That's one, and that's the other one. Now 5 years ago when I moved here, that was fine. Now it's really struggling. There's only a few green sprouts. All the leaves have fallen off of most of it, and it's just about stuffed. And there's another one that is down there. Same damn thing. It was only, flaming early last year or sometime. The whole lot was perfectly green. And yeah, well, things have changed, and put my finger over the mic here. For some reason, it seems it's only got a handful of green sprouts at the top, and it's effectively died within the last year and a half. So a lot of these ones, a lot of people don't sort of really realise, other than there's some giant redwood or some sequoia or some blooming thing. There's a couple in the States that essentially live forever. They can live for thousands of years. In Tasmania, that little island down below my state, they have the Huon pine. That's a sugar bowl I showed, made out of that very rare wood. It's now protected, but those are known to live 3,500 years, and things like that. But most trees, you get about 100, 120 years out of them and they're stuffed. These have all been planted, well, at least the ones around the house have been planted in 1927. And this thing here was all full of blooming leaves and fine when I was snipping these low-hanging bits and pieces off, which probably should have made their way into a bonfire, but actually didn't. Some of this would be good for the wood stove, but realistically I should have put it in the Boxthorn bonfire that I burnt there. But lo and behold, a little bit of green up there, and that's about it. And most of the green you can see up there is actually coming from the tree beside it. But the stuff that's actually on this tree, there's jack shit worth of bugger all. Yet this whole thing here was all perfectly green. All these lower branches were all good. But here's the most intriguing thing of all. The ubiquitous boxthorn. Wait for it. 2 of them. 1, 2, growing in the fork of a bloomin' conifer, growing in the fork of a cypress pine. These things are just unbeatable. It just, I don't know, they're boxthorns, they're invincible. And I saw that when I was walking around down here, waiting for the generator to call, and I just thought, I cannot believe it, I've got to get this on camera. There's, over the edge of the hill, it's actually a fair way down past one of the big thickets, there's a rock. There's quite a big sized rock, and at the top it's slightly dipped, just slightly domed, and there's a bit of dust that's sort of built up, probably only, I don't know, not much more than half an inch that's built up from just wind blowing the dust, particularly during the drought. You could look over the other side of the valley and you could actually see clouds of dirt blowing in the air during the drought. And of course some of that dirt is on top of this rock, and you get about this half-inch worth of soil that's probably, I don't know, 6 inches wide. There's boxthorn growing in that, on the top of a rock. And that's been there for a couple of years, that boxthorn now. It's still only small and stunted, but the fact that it even exists is unbelievable. But, yeah, anyway, these old bangers, one by one, are slowly reaching their use-by date. You know, let's face it, they're about 89 years old, and yeah, that seems to be, you know, some of them are going fine, but there's others of them that are just failing one after the other, you know, and I think it's one of these things every couple of years I'm going to notice that there's the green sprouts for that one, but it's just a little bit up the top, you know, and all this stuff was all full of green only about a year and a half ago. I think it's one of these things I'm just going to keep noticing every second year there's another one that's dying, you know, and just the way it goes, I should get into planting something else, because once these are all used up for firewood, the only next one is peppercorns, which I don't really want to be chopping down, because most of them are down the bottom of the property and they're bloody hard to deal with all the wood down there, and cart it over a fence, and even parking down there is a bloody bitch of a thing. There's big blooming ditches on the sides of the roads and that, drains and all that, so I have considered growing sugar gum for firewood, and that may happen. Fortunately, these aren't native, and if they're native trees that have been there, you know, like the forest out here sort of thing, you know, you can't touch a lot of it, but when they're not native, you can go berserk. And the other time, obviously, is if you've deliberately planted them as like a bit of a plantation, then you should be able to also go berserk, because it's not really a natural formation. You might be surprised to know that all this area out here, there was nothing more than a handful of saplings, and they stripped it bare during gold mining days. And 100 years later, it's all back like nothing happened. And as you can see, it goes for absolutely miles and miles. And this is just the outer edge of this thing, and it just goes for miles. And some of you guys may remember the video I done showing my place on Google Maps and showing all this forest on Google Maps as well. And yeah, but you can't just go willy-nilly touching all of that stuff, unfortunately. Some people who own property in amongst it can nip the occasional one, and nobody even knows the difference. But and of course the other one is they go for fallen stuff too. But apparently you're not even supposed to, like a lot of this is actually government owned, that forest, and probably 70 or 80% of it. And as a result, they don't even let you touch the fallen trees, which is bullshit. But anyway, it's part of their rules for public land. And yeah, I gather it's that time of year when there's little bunnies hopping around. You know, Black Kitty, eh? They didn't get to hop around too long, did they? I'm trying to work out what bit she's got there. I thought it was the ears, but it's actually the back legs. Yeah. Anyway, so life goes out here with putty tats. These things appear for a while, and then they get taken care of. They're feral, they're an introduced species, and like so many animals in Australia, including cats, introduced species has also gone feral. And yeah, one feral animal is taking care of another feral animal, eh? Alrighty, well I had to go to work, unlike some people, and as a result I obviously didn't get any sanding done this morning. We had someone, I'm not supposed to talk a great deal about work obviously, but cancel on us, and basically we've got to do something tomorrow, so I only got a few hours in, and then had to wait around for about hour and a half, 2 hours for a call to come through, only to be told that no, we don't need you, so go home. But anyway, that means I've got a fair chunk of the afternoon to sand, and got the old Prio happening. Turned it on, and like a typical grumpy thing, it come up with its lights red as though it was flat, and then I don't know, it's just some chargers, particularly lithium ion and stuff like that, where I've seen it with other things too, where they'll sort of say that they're flat. And I had a phone that used to do this same bullshit too. Say that it's flat, put it on the charger, and you knew it wasn't flat because it was reasonably well charged, if not fully charged last time you had it a couple of days ago. And you go to turn it on and it says it's flat, and you plug it into the charger, and within 2 seconds it says it's completely full. This stupid Santa done the same thing. He said it was flat and didn't want to go. Walked out, turned the inverter on, because about a week and a half-ish around the time when it was snowing, a bit before and a bit after, it's been very dull skies, so I turned the, probably around 2 weeks, last 2 weeks or so, it's been dull skies, so I turned off the inverter because I was worried about lack of power coming through, and it uses about 3 watts standby power at all times, so I turned it off, and what do you know, the sun's all out and lovely and shining again, so I went and turned it back on to put this on the charger, and within 2 seconds flat it was full, and I've just been sanding for about 20 minutes, and I've got to wait half an hour for it to recharge itself because I've flattened it properly. So anyway, I reckon probably now. Yeah, I'll probably need to charge it once more after this to finish all this, and then by then it'll probably be getting pretty low and I have to charge it a second time, but I should be able to have it finished before it needs any more than one charge after this. Doesn't run very long, you know, it only goes about 20 minutes and then that's it, sort of thing. But, and it's you know, it's one of these things, like the charger is 27 watts, it charges in half an hour. You can't expect a very powerful sander like that. I think my cheap shit ones are 120 watts continuous mains power, whereas that's 27 watts. For 20 minutes of use, it takes 27 watts for half an hour to recharge it. But anyway, you know, not an issue. I'll easily get it done by tonight anyway. And I did get myself that stupid tray. I'll show you what I mean. This is great. It was, what was it, $3.70? It's the same brand I used before. Yeah. You can get ones that are liners, and you buy the proper thick plastic ones and then put ones in that are liners. But those liners will just, like, if I was holding the liner like this, it would just collapse. You know, just like, you know, I'd hold one end and it would just be like, just about bend it. But this, as you can see, it's a bit stronger, and it'll hold its own weight without a problem, because it's a disposable tray. Ridiculous thing is, I think it's the liners, you get a pack of 3 for $5.45, and they won't hold their own weight. Plus, you need to buy the actual proper tray to put them in. And these are $3.70? Yeah, $3.70. So anyway, I use one of these for, oh hell, a couple of years actually, and chucked it out when I was doing the weatherboard sometime. I don't know if it was the gables or the back wall, but anyway, that's one of the perks of getting off early is you can go to shops and get stuff and do whatever you want as well. It's one of these things, you know, we had somebody where we went to go and do a piano table, and I'll tell you what, I know the boss did, and I bloody well would have done it myself if I was the boss. We went out, 4 guys deliberately started driving out to move a piano, and it was a pretty substantial bloody piano. And it had to be carried across about 30 metres worth of lawn to put it in a shipping container at the back of the house. I'm not joking, half an hour drive to get there. We've been driving for 10 minutes and they ring up and cancel. 4 guys had nothing to do for another 3 hours. You know, it's a sort of a subcontractor basis the way it works, and there's times where you do just have to sit around and wait, and it's as simple as that. And often enough, if we've got to go somewhere, we get most of the way there, and then we just sit around fucking drinking coffee at a truck stop or something stupid like that. I do like the life out on the road. You know, it's just, I don't know, it's just a thing about driving through public that makes you feel like you're free, because you're watching the entire world do all its stuff, and it's not like, compare what I do to somebody who's working in a frickin' little cubicle in some boring ass office job where all they can see is just 3 sides of this bloody cubicle, you know, and I'm out and about and flying along, you know, and I don't always drive. Doesn't worry me. It's less liability, and it's actually no more money if I'm driving versus not driving. But of course, if you are driving, you got the liability of clipping the mirror on something, or having to brake really hard when somebody else decides to slam the brakes on in front of you, and things like that. But yeah, it's I'm likely to be in a truck going up to the capital again tomorrow, so Yeah, and sort of the work, there wasn't much around the time of snow coming down. Like it got 3 hours that week, and then this week it's all firing up. And yeah, I think it's a really highly weather dependent sort of an industry. You know, that's the most of this country is. The summer comes and the economy goes frickin' apeshit to the point everybody's doing overtime and everyone's running their pants off. And it comes to winter and the only people doing anything really are the guys delivering firewood, and all industry slows down. One that did go exceedingly well when I was at the chicken plant. We were going flat knacker during winter at the chicken plant, but that was about the only thing. And the vast majority of the economy slows right down during the winter. Same with the nursery. When I was at the nursery, things were slow as hell and you'd never get any overtime in the winter because that lettuce that takes 6 weeks, sometimes maybe 8 weeks to grow, in the summer takes 12 weeks to grow in the winter, and as a result you're turning over a lot less stuff. And then there's this sort of the spring starts and then all of a sudden, bang, tomato season. Oh shit! We used to do about 24 million tomato plants, and needless to say, there were entire hothouses that were just 100% tomatoes from one end to the other. And yeah. Anyways, I'll probably should start cooking a bit of food on the wood stove for tonight. And yeah, keep sanding. Alrighty, here's a little pre-o. It's not doing it much now. I was throwing a bit of dust off before. You're supposed to put a vacuum cleaner up that hole, but I don't. And sometimes when I turn it on, it throws all the dust off itself. Those of you who know anything about sanders will know that these are Velcro pads. But this is a very bizarre sander because the front sponge comes off and it's also Velcroed on. Now, the strange thing is, your plastic piece here has the back one glued solidly, but the front one removable Velcro style. Now, the only trouble is, this takes your Velcro sanding pads. So when you go to pull off your front curved triangle piece, because the front always wears out quicker than the back, often enough anyway, if you're always moving it forwards, and a lot of people, they always work on a forwards motion, so they end up wearing out the front more than they wear at the back, and they come separately in the pack. They usually give you equal numbers, but anyway, as you go to pull this front one off, you'll bloody near separate the Velcro there and take the blimmin' sponge with it, whereas the back one is not a problem. And I actually went a bit hard on it initially, and I stuffed the front one, and I went to glue it back on, except I stuffed it up and went the wrong way, and yeah, I had to go and get another front pad. But those of you who dealt with Bosch Australia will know that you go and get one, and the warehouse is just chronically scrambled eggs, and they send you the wrong one. So you go to the shop to pick it up, and then you get 5 metres down the road and open the packet and say, this isn't right. And you go back to the shop and you give it back, and then you wait another 10 days and you might get the right one. And I think it cost me about $35 just for this little piece of sponge. Anyway, 7.2 volt, it's made in Hungary, and it's your little plug there. It's almost like your standard little wall pack circular plug for your, your little, like your little transformer packs that plug into your PowerPoint, and they have like a 9 volt output or a 12 volt output. It's sort of like that. I don't think you can really see the little, you can see the end of it there, a little pin inside, and basically they've got more or less what's a plug pack inside a big hunk of plastic, and you slide it on to the said charger, and it slides in between the gap between the sander and the... You've got a little notch that slides between the sanding pad and the rest of the sander through there, and then that will line up the little plug with the hole at the end, and then you see what you saw before, which is the little LEDs dancing away, and it charges itself up. But anyway, I'll go and put some more sanding paper on this. Turns out I'm using 40 grit, and that seems to be pretty good anyway. I don't know why I thought I needed 120 grit, but 40 grit's pretty good. Yeah, I'll whack some more on and continue on. Alrighty, well, I cut one up there, and it was sort of tangled through this boxthorn, and I haven't been out here for a few days, and I had some wood that was a bit rotten and shit, so I was just throwing it on the stack there, and lo and behold, I realised this bastard's finally come out. Now this is the one I was trimming before. This has been on the ground, as you can see, but this one, through there, that's the end of it there, right through here, across here, right all out of here, that was sitting right up amongst there, and now it's finally come down, and actually it's taken some boxthorn with it. Yeah, broke the boxthorn off just there, sitting all down through here. So anyway, when I'm done, it's pretty windy out here right now actually, when I'm done with all the painting and all the crap, I'll probably come out with a reciprocating saw and start trimming all the crap off this, and might try and one of these other ones has got to sort of be rolled over and get rid of some of the crap on the other side, and dump it all out in the pile out there. Yeah, I want to try and get the painting done because that's a lot better, a priority to be chasing. I almost finished sanding. I'll probably vacuum up all the dust, and yeah,